What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast, your weekly source for all your Benfica talk. On tonight's edition, episode 157, we will look back at the Clásico as expected. We will also look ahead to Gil Vicente, and we got a packed house tonight. Steve Santos from Toronto. What's going on, Stevie?
Hey, another night, another podcast. And look, 2 podcasts in a row I wear a Benfica jersey. This week, I'm the one wearing the ugly jersey, not Chris.
Bro,
nice.
You know, you got one thing right. That is ugly, bro. That is. I
got the same jersey.
That's the ugliest Benfica jersey.
Ronald
bro.
McDonald version.
Yeah.
My God.
Cristiano Oliveira.
Wait. Quick question. Why does Steve always get announced before I do?
Again? I already explained this one time before.
And I'm gonna keep asking.
I told you. Because Steve was here before
I'm
you.
joking, dude. I don't care.
Lá vem este
Come
gajo,
on,
estás a
man.
ver?
I got it, dude. Vocês levam tudo. A sério, meu. Mas esquece. Let's forget about me for a second.
Cristiano Oliveira.
Olá.
And our surprise guest that Peggy was kind enough to announce, Mr. Marco from South Africa. What's going on, Marco?
Hello. It's my annual podcast appearance. You guys don't let me on once a year.
Marco put the line to bed early in order to make his appearance here on the Benfica podcast, so we appreciate your kindness, Marco.
With the zebra out the pasture. All right.
Oh man.
Let's get this started. And if you didn't watch the game, I don't know what rock you were under, but Benfica played Porto this past Sunday at Estádio da Luz, the biggest game of the season for Benfica, the biggest sellout of the season for Benfica. I forgot what the exact number, but the stadium was packed. Timo was there. Timo, big shout out to Timo.
Pete?
Timo and Pete Damakin was there. Lara was there. João Gomes was there. Magda was there. Who else am I forgetting? Patrick Hendrick was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm probably forgetting, but
That's it.
let's get right into the game. I'll give you the lineup real quick. We had Júlio César. Did I write that
Maxi,
down?
Luizão.
There you go. Júlio César, Maxi, Luizão, Jardel, and Eliseu across the back. Samaris and Pizzi were in the middle. Talisca and Gaetan on the wings. Jonas and Lima. Steve, surprised at all that we had been saying that there was going to be John on the wings, and we got Talisca. Surprised at all?
Yeah, I was surprised. We shouldn't be, because Talisca's like we've said before, he's always had a very what's the word I'm looking for? Special spot in JJ's heart, because he always seems to be getting opportunities, even when the game didn't really suit him, for me anyway. But he wasn't as bad as he possibly could be, but he obviously was not very good either.
Yeah, but and I think on a pregame show we had mentioned Talisca, and we were all surprised. And Chris, one of the reasons that perhaps he put Talisca in was probably that Talisca also likes to drift to the middle, and he anticipated us being mismatched in the middle, so maybe that's why Talisca was in there.
Yeah, and especially once he saw the Porto lineup, he saw that Porto was going strong with midfielders. So yeah, obviously both teams try to clog up the middle, but again, I'll mention this in the Benfica podcast pregame show on Sunday, and I'm gonna mention it again. I think some of it, believe it or not, had to do with the fact that the biggest clubs in Europe were there, the scouts were there, and you know what? You wanted to throw them out there. I mean, because there is no other, real reason that this guy could give me as to why all of a sudden the guy who has not played, and over the last couple of months is getting a start here in such a huge game.
Yeah.
Want to hear an interesting stat?
Go ahead.
Sure.
We've lost 3 games this year? I think
Yes.
it was. All 3 games Talisca played.
And Talisca was part of it. Mm-hmm.
Wait. What about the games that he scored and we won?
Well, you know me, I'm only on the negative side when it comes to him. So.
All right, Marco. I don't know if you watched the game live, but you look at this Lopetegui, whatever. You look at his lineup, and really, for a team that really needed a win, this is a very conservative lineup with a lot of guys in the midfield.
Well, I think it was just one of those cases where he wanted to set up making sure that he didn't lose ground as well, because I think it was obviously Porto needed the win more than Benfica. Let's be honest, but they also for them to be 6 points behind would have also been very, very dangerous, especially with only 4 games to go. It's the business end of the season, so it was really important for both teams really to not lose this game, and that's effectively what we saw, right? We saw two teams really afraid of taking too many risks and respectful of each other's strengths, and that's fine. I think Benfica used that to their advantage because even though Porto obviously set up in a very defensive way, in some respects, they were still trying very hard to win the game, right? They still had a lot of the possession, they still had a lot of the better chances, or a lot of the better attacking movements in the game. I mean, at the end of the day, neither side created all that much, and I think we all agree. Well, I'm hoping we all agree. Let's see if you guys like this or not. But I think to some extent Benfica play within themselves. I think there's that patch in the second half, especially when they come out, they're a lot more aggressive, a lot more assertive. And maybe that's because Porto makes the switch, they take off Neves and put on Herrera, and that loosens up their midfield a little bit. But I do think ultimately Benfica didn't do a lot of the attacking because they kind of felt they didn't need to. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. But Steve, I do think that we were equal to ourselves as far as the same tactical disposition. If Salvio was healthy, he was going to play, not Talisca. Steve, I find it very curious that with Ruben Neves and Casemiro, when Casemiro's main priority it was shutting down Lima.
No, Jonas.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jonas.
Yeah.
That really, it's almost like we saw a reversal of roles. While at times we've seen JJ invent things or come up with these weird ideas, and this time was Lopetegui, really.
Yeah, I mean, Marco hit the point pretty squarely. Both teams were more scared to lose the match than they were interested in winning the match. So Lopetegui also put out a lineup that was more set up to stop Benfica than it was to make Benfica suffer. When we first looked at the lineup on the pregame show, I looked at it, I was like, okay, this guy's going to try to really pin us in and press and then circulate the ball, and the width would come from the fullbacks and whatnot. In the first half, the fullbacks came up quite a bit. In the second half, as he altered a few things, the fullbacks really didn't venture forward as much as they normally do. It was a Porto that was made to stop us. The midfield was more of a double pivot. You had Casemiro, his only intention was to stop Jonas. You had Ruben Neves, who played more or less alongside of him, who made it near impossible to get any passes in between the lines, either to Jonas or to Lima or to Gaetan, any of our normal recipients in that area. It was just way too clogged up to do anything about it. So when you first looked at the game, you were like, okay, these guys are just probably going to try to play high up the pitch with a lot of guys that know how to use the ball well. But I think even with all the guys that they were putting, like they had three guys in the line behind Jackson that you would all say that they probably want to play number 10, and they're all more pensive players, more passing, more thinking like players. And by having those three guys, what they also did is you have three guys that aren't going to be very vertical. They're not going to take a lot of risks. They're not going to go 1v1 on you very often. I mean, Brahimi does, but not. One, he's very good at shielding the ball, so he doesn't really give you too much when he is going 1v1. And he's not a Quaresma. He's not even Herrera, who likes to get forward a lot, or Hernani. This was a lineup that, at first glance, it looked like it was meant to do one thing, but as the game wore on, you could tell that Lopetegui was just as scared of losing this match as JJ was.
You call it being scared, but I think that they executed his tactics to perfection in the first half. I mean, I think it was only once they realized that Benfica wasn't doing crap. I mean, I sat there on my couch with Alfredo and I said, count how many times Benfica completes 2 passes in the offensive third. He didn't. I mean, I thought that defensively they were perfect in the first half. Benfica couldn't create any chances. Yeah, you're right. They didn't have much. They didn't create many chances themselves as well. But I think it was only once Lopetegui realized that Benfica wasn't going to come forward, because Benfica showed showed absolutely no interest in coming forward in the first half. That he made the sub and he brought in Reyes, and all of a sudden the
Herrera.
midfield. Oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, I'm sorry. Reyes is the other Mexican that's garbage. Herrera, and he brought him in. It was only then that the midfield opened up. And I thought it was a good substitution by him, but obviously it backfired. Benfica picked up their game in the second half. But, Steve, go back to that first half. And to me, that first half was just as bad as the one in Estadio Alvalade. That was terrible by Benfica. It was absolutely terrible.
That's what they were intent on doing.
Exactly, but that's what I'm
JJ
saying.
Didn't want to lose the match. He was letting Porto have the ball, and which, here's my thing on it.
I don't know if it's letting Porto have the ball, bro. I think they pressured well at times.
Exactly.
Let's give the other team credit once in a while here.
No, Benfica. If you watch Benfica in the first half, they press the ball very well, and the way that the whole team defends as a unit when they're pressing, like if the ball is tight and covered and there's no way really out other than a long hoof up forward, our defensive line and all the midfield comes way high. I think the majority of the first half, Benfica was playing with Luizão and Jardel maybe 5 to 10 yards away from the halfway line, really high. Even though Porto had most of the ball, even though that Porto was quote unquote supposed to take the game to us, we still were controlling what they were doing. I don't think we were out there trying to create chances. No, we weren't going to take any risks. But I think Porto in their shoes needed to take risks, regardless of whether it was it would have been a 6-point lead or not. If they had taken the risks, they could have also won the game, and it would have been up to them to win. Well, almost up to them, I guess. There's always depending how much they won by. But I think Jesus played it as well as he could have, given the units that he has in his squad. I mean, we've said it throughout the year that he's been playing within the limitations of the squad.
Yeah, but here's a thing for me, right? I understand. I'm not taking away anything from Porto, but really, we played what Porto let us play in the first half. I mean, the midfield was very compact. Porto almost played like this was a two-leg matchup. They had won 2-0 in the first leg, and they needed to hold the result in the second leg.
But that's where I think what you guys said in last week's pod, and Pedri was on with us last week, which was, or was it before? Well, it might have been the pregame. I don't know. Somebody brought up the fact that Porto might have been, really exhausted from obviously those two matchups, but those two grueling games against Bayern Munich and all the pressure that they did. So maybe Lopetegui knew. Listen, if I could hold this game close in the first half, which they did, and then the second half, then I'll spring in my game, my game changers, the Quaresmas, the kid that they got from Hernani. I think that was the game plan. Obviously, they didn't capitalize on it, but I think that was their intention. Maybe they were tired. Maybe he understood that these guys were tired. And like you said, he tried to play the game as if it were a two-legged event, but he tried to play it as a two-legged half. Marco.
Well, the thing is, I get it. You want to give Porto credit because obviously they came in with a certain plan. They restricted Benfica in certain ways, but I think we also can't take away from how Benfica did the same thing to Porto. Because make no mistake, the way that I thought Jardel and Luizão were brilliant. I thought Maxi was fantastic, especially in the first half. Every single time that Talisca, whenever he attempted to track back and then unfortunately lost Sandro on the overlap, Maxi was always there covering. He was always successful in getting the ball or forcing him to pass it or forcing him to the touchline. Samaris was all over the field in a very good way. I think the only risk, and I'm going to talk about it in moments as opposed to, because I think having watched the game over again, I was probably a bit harsh on Eliseu during the game on social media, but I think that there were moments when Eliseu was risky, but ultimately he, at the end of the day, it was a very contained performance. I don't think Benfica were all that bad in terms of how they restricted Porto as well. The other thing is, I get it. We like to sort of go by the assumption of, these guys will approach each game as it comes. You can't tell me that Lopetegui is not thinking about Benfica's trip to Guimarães and Benfica hosting Marítimo. So, because he'd rather I mean, he'd rather not be 6 points down and then obviously hope for the best, because otherwise he's basically leaving a lot more to chance in the sense of him trying to throw a whole bunch of people forward. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I think Porto were just as respectful of Benfica's strengths as Benfica were in another round. Because there were enough little glimpses of Rodrigo's movements and Jonas's movement to actually give you a sense that if those guys had been given any inch of a gap, they were going to cause some serious trouble. And they're very lucky that chance that drops to Facer in the 83rd minute drops to Facer, as of all people, as opposed to someone like Jonas.
Wow.
So for me, I think it's a lesson in containment, and it's no different to the way that they handled the second leg in Turin last season in the Europa League. It is a very considered, very intelligent, and very strong performance of, we don't need to take certain risks, and therefore we will not do it, and we don't care about the entertainment value of the game. We're here to get a result.
Yeah. But that's the way he's played it at certain times this season when he's needed the result.
I mean, but right now, let's be honest. Whether they're down 6 or whether they're level at 3, in reality, Porto's down by 4. You still need Benfica to drop points in 2 games. Yeah. You still, and even then, Benfica might still have the upper hand. So, I mean, I don't understand what the hell he was thinking, because maybe he should have just thrown people up. And you know what? You lose 5-4. It is what it is. At least you went for it. Because right now, I mean, okay, fine. You got the Guimarães game, granted. But how's Benfica going to drop games? I mean, really, you really expect Benfica with the Campeonato on the line to go and choke it up again?
I don't. I really don't.
I had a higher opinion of Lopetegui before this match than after it.
Yeah,
I thought he would have more guts.
I think that I understand what Chris is saying, and I think that's a great shot on his part. And that may be very well what the strategy was. I also understand the point that Marco was trying to say, that it's a lot better to come out with a tie here, still with 3 points difference, which now are 4 points, than to go down 6. And now you need Benfica to lose really 3 games out of the 4 in order for you to go on in first place, really. So I understand that point.
But you still need Benfica. You still need Benfica to drop points that you're not expecting Benfica to drop points.
Right.
I mean, it's not like Benfica's going up against Sporting and Braga in the next, in 2 of the last 4 games. So I mean, it's still unexpected to. I don't know. I don't know. Listen, I think that they executed his game plan well enough in the first half. But do I think it was a smart game plan? No, I don't think it was a smart game plan by any stretch of the imagination. But it is what it is. Listen, I'm glad as a Benfiquista, I'm glad he chose to come out like that. And but at the same time, you ask me these same questions, and it makes me wonder: were they really tired? I mean, was it to try and stifle Benfica in the first half, or was it because these guys were gutted from the game that they had earlier in the week?
I think that that Lopetegui has screwed up this game strategy as much as JJ has screwed up his name. That's what I think.
What are you talking about?
Very fair shout.
His name is Lopetegui. His name is Lopetegui. I mean, what do we care how he says his name? We only care about how Jorge Jesus says his name, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that was a brilliant article I tweeted earlier in the day. How many other names has Jesus just messed up throughout the years? It's like he should. Lopetegui should take it as a compliment that he's actually a part of that great list. What does he say? Unite instead of United. He says all kinds of freaking funny ones.
But has that been confirmed? Has that been confirmed? That was what the little bust up was? The fact that I mean, really, like Lopetegui was after this game right now that could possibly decide the Campeonato. This is what was going through his mind.
I don't know. I just think that it's a moment of stress. It's the realization.
Frustration.
It's the realization that you couldn't get the 3 points when you needed them so much. That just takes over a guy like that on a simple thing. I mean, when he knows that JJ couldn't even say his mother's name correctly, probably.
Yet he can control a back line the way he does on our team. It's insane, man.
Yeah, absolutely. He can't even say some of his players' names correctly. So I mean, go figure. But to me, it was a big screw up by Lotepegui, and also, maybe he was playing for his job too.
Yeah.
After the 6-1 beating in Munich, who's to say that if he loses this game, he's out the door for real?
Well, there's rumors today. I read a rumor he might be linked to AC Milan. So I mean, I think Lopetegui's going to get a job. I think he's going to get a job regardless. But I don't know. I think Porto will bring him back another season.
Yeah, I think so. It's not a downgrade, I don't think, if he goes to AC Milan.
Well, right now the way that the squad is set up, yeah, it might be, but at the same time, he's still at AC Milan, and they obviously have the wallets, and they could go out and just restock that roster in any given summer. So I mean, I don't think it's that much of a difference.
Yeah. All right. So we all in agreement that Benfica didn't play the best game yet. Very effective for what we needed to do. I guess it is the lesser of the two evils, if you want to call it. But you guys already mentioned some guys. I thought Jardel was excellent. I was watching the game with Chris, and we thought that Eliseu had probably one of his best games for Benfica. And one of the things that impressed me was the fact that he used his experience to earn a lot of fouls in our favor. I mean, that yellow card on Quaresma, freaking brilliant.
That was a great dive.
and there was other ones that he didn't have anywhere to go, so he puts his body in front of the guy and waits for the guy to foul him.
That's what every defender nowadays in Portugal does. They shield the ball the minute somebody touches them, and they go flying like they got run over by a bus.
But Popsic uses his stomach the best.
Popsic played well, man. Popsic played well. So,
let's.
I guess nobody else wants to add.
I know that.
No. I thought he had a good match.
What?
I thought he had a pretty good match. I think he's been pretty good since the turn of the year, to be honest.
Marco. I know Marco has been very critical of Popsic, as we have also here. But I think in the past years, he's kind of in the past weeks, he's kind of settled in there.
I think when it's warranted, I'll rip anyone, and you guys know me by now. When it's warranted, now when it's just because it's become the fashionable thing to say or do, I think it's unfair. I don't think he had a terrible game the other day.
Okay, I have my facts, right? Because my whole thing is in the game, like Benfica versus Porto. It's all about the margins. It's all about the little things that could go wrong, right? So the good news is nothing happened that went wrong, so we can all smile about this. But I mean, I'll go and look at the game, and you'll see what I'm talking about. On the key one for me is on 18 minutes. There's this pass that runs right across the field, and he decides to take Danilo on. Unfortunately, Danilo wins the ball, and he pulls him back. Now, luckily, he pulls him back, and he gets that point. But if he doesn't succeed in that foul, Danilo's through. It's a very big risk that obviously could have, I felt it could have been avoided. The other thing is, if you look at the ball that the cross that comes in where Jackson gets his big opportunity on I think 33 minutes or so. That comes from a Danilo cross, which is completely uncontested, and the closest player is Eliseu. Now, it's hypercritical, and I mean, I'm ignoring the fact that he does this amazing sort of save clearance in the second half, a block on Jackson in around 62 minutes. But I think the challenge is, we've seen in this fixture, often there's a situation where, it literally is one mistake or one moment. And we kind of played the margins there, so did Popsic let us down? No, in hindsight, he didn't. I just, you're watching the game, it's live, there's emotions, you don't want Benfica to mess us up because there's this very small thing called the bicampeonato, sitting in the wings, and you don't want this oak to go and mess it up for you. You know what I'm trying to say?
Marco, obviously, the guy wasn't 100%. Obviously, the dude commits mistakes. Every single player on the field commits a mistake at one point or another. There was also, I don't know if you mentioned this because I was actually reading something real quick, and I didn't mean to ignore you, so don't take it that way. But there was also another cross into the box. I don't know if you mentioned it because I heard you say uncontested. That I even said to him, what the hell is this guy doing? He headed it out for a corner for no reason by himself. All he had to do was let the ball go out.
I remember that.
That was another one. So obviously the guy he didn't have a perfect game. But that being said, I don't think he put Benfica in danger at any time. I mean, I thought Andre Almeida, a guy that everybody kisses up to, comes into the game, has a very costly turnover, okay? That could have really bitten Benfica in the ass late in the second half, but nobody said a peep about it. I mean, I just think it's unfair. I think it's unfair. Like, when Eliseo was bad, just like our Capitan, Luizão, who I absolutely love, and Jonas, who obviously you guys know the love I have for Jonas. When the guys mess up, I'm the first one to say they messed up.
Yeah.
When Eliseo headed that ball out, I go, what the hell did I do in my living room? I jumped up and everything was shaking. I'm like, what the? I mean, I have no problem criticizing someone. But now to just come out and criticize because, Marco, something could have gone wrong, I mean, then for that, we can criticize every single player on the field because anything could go wrong at any moment.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I also think that Jardel saved Pop Six's ass a few
a couple
times.
of times. Yeah, he did.
Jardel's a machina this year, bro. Jardel's a machina, and people on Twitter actually want to talk about this guy. He's had a really, really good year. And the funny thing is if you change the name in the back of his jersey and you put in Garay, we're all sitting there like, wow. You know what I mean?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think so? Okay.
No.
it's not that good yet.
Nobody's comparing. Listen, I think you guys misunderstand me half of the time. I'm not comparing him. All I'm saying is if you change the name and you're like, okay, wow, yo, that's what you expect. But the fact is, Jardel, you're like, man, he got lucky.
Jardel has had a good season when all he was asked to do was defend. Okay? Garay, just to mention him in the same sentence as Jardel is blasphemy. Okay?
I'm sorry I brought up Garay.
Because
mention another guy, Steven Vitoria.
Even Steven Vitoria has a nice pass out of the back that Jardel does never, ever, ever give us. Okay? So Jardel's a fantastic defender, but anything to do with the ball, 9 times, okay, maybe not. 7 out of 10 times he's going to mess up and give you a heart attack. So...
But Steve, that's unfair. Again, you're being unfair. At the beginning of the season, 100%, he hasn't been that player over the last couple of months. Jardel's actually played really well, guys.
Defending.
Yeah, he doesn't have, but what do you want? The guy to play like he's David Luiz, come out of the back? That's not what he does.
No. But he's
actually, that wouldn't be a good
player. I don't know what you said that made them all laugh, Marco.
No, Marco said that's not a bad thing.
Oh, that's very true.
No, that wouldn't be a good thing.
That
wouldn't be a good thing. That wouldn't be a good thing because David Luiz nowadays gets nutmegged by just about everybody at the moment. Oh man.
But then that's on the defensive side.
Yeah, exactly. Can I just very quickly, because I don't want to miss the opportunity to mention it. Can I please play significant props to the highlight of the game? It happens in 88 minutes. There's a cross from I don't care which Porto player, because what happens after this is Luizão backheels the ball out of the box. Who does that? Who clears the ball with a backheel? And there's no vines on the internet. What is wrong with you people? I'm trying to make a vine, and I'm really bad at it. Someone get me a vine of a back heel clearance because no one does it, but Luizão did it. Come on, that's brilliant. Someone, I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, that might not be the first time Luizão's done that. Luizão does that a lot. Sometimes he's running back and he just tries to get his. Listen, Luizão understands. Luizão understands what Jardel finally understood this season. That it's about defending first, okay? And Luizão doesn't care what direction he's headed, and if he could get a leg on the ball, he's gonna get it. And Luizão's just a man, bro. I mean, this is a guy that the way that soccer, absolutely, the way that soccer is nowadays, bro. We might not see a guy at Benfica, as long as we've seen Luizão. I mean, this might not happen now for the next God knows how long. I mean, think about how good this guy's been for us over the last, 11, 12, 13 years? This guy's been here forever.
Yeah, you rarely see loyalty like that. And the guys...
Especially in Portugal.
Yeah, exactly. When guys make the jump, when guys come in young and they make the jump. I'm not saying that maybe that he hasn't had offers that he could have jumped at, but for one reason or another, he opted to stay. And look, that's great for us, man. He's huge, man. And the numbers that he's put up as far as appearances... especially with the captain's armband, right up there with some of the biggest legends of the club.
There are players in Portugal, not just at Benfica, Porto, and Sporting, Braga, and other smaller teams. that come from South America, African, whatever, Asia, whatever. In Asia, not many, but, you get the drift. These guys come over to Portugal, and they say that this is a jumping stone to a bigger league and whatever. Every single player has that mentality, and Luizão, for some reason, I mean, I don't know, does Benfica pay him under the table? I don't know what it is, but somehow they've been able to hold on to this guy. You've heard rumors about Juventus. You've heard rumors about even Qatar. And that's why I say I think it's going to be hard to hold him down this summer because I think he's going to go out for one final payday. But that being said, I at least in my lifetime, since football's changed, okay, in the early 90s, I haven't seen this at Benfica.
Yeah. I know that Lucindo could probably do that GIF for you, Marco. Lucindo, get on that. Need a GIF of Luizão's back heel in the 88th minute. If you need the link to the game video, let me know. I can find that for you. Anyway, anything else you guys wanted to add on onto the game?
Couple of things, since none of you guys want to talk. I asked I asked the Capitão here, okay, our Capitão, a question during the game. At least for this season, okay, guys, and let's talk about this season. You know what? I'll extend it a little. This season and next season, okay? Would you guys would rather have Julio Cesar or Oblak? I'm not talking about for a 10-year career. I'm talking about for this season and next season. Would Benfica have missed the beat if you substitute? Would it have been better or worse if they substitute Julio Cesar I already got your answer. Wait, but people didn't.
I think it's just about the same.
I think his feet are 100 times better. The guy that
whose feet?
JC's. Come on, Julio Cesar. Go ahead, guys.
I think it's very, very even. I think where Julio Cesar might have a bit of an edge, it's only a little bit of an edge over Oblak's feet. I think Oblak commands his box a lot better than Julio Cesar does. Oblak will come out for basically any cross.
Yeah, Oblak is huge, dude.
He's a big boy. He's very agile. I have a lot of confidence when he was back. Like I was like, oh yeah, that ball's in the air, big deal. Oblak's gonna grab it. It's no big deal. With Julio Cesar, there was even one or two that came across the box in the Porto game where I didn't have that same confidence. With his feet, he probably edges out Oblak, but it's still even for me. It's even. If anything, there's a sway towards Oblak for me.
Disagree, Marco.
Okay. I think Oblak is the better goalkeeper, but I think Julio Cesar is the better footballer. And if we're talking about the kind of situation where you just want someone for 1 or 2 seasons, I think there's an element of leadership that Julio Cesar has demonstrated at the back, which combined with someone like Luizão and Maxi, I mean, it's not a coincidence that you take out Garay, you take out
Cicada.
Who played left back for us last season?
Cicada.
Yeah, there we go. Cicada. Jeez, like that was bad. And the team is still very stable. The back four operates really, really well. There's a new defensive midfielder, and yet there's none of that affects the team negatively from a defensive standpoint. So I think there's a lot of it comes from I mean the experience washes over the guys. So I agree with Steve in the sense that I don't think his goalkeeping abilities fill me with the exact same level of assurance as Oblak did, but I think there's obviously a level of accomplishment that comes with the years that he's played. Do I think Oblak will eventually be the better goalkeeper? Yes, I do. But
I mean, eventually he's going to be the better goalkeeper. I expect him to be the better goalkeeper when Julio Cesar is 40, without a doubt. But I mean, I'm talking about this season, the next season. You guys, and again, not to slight, Oblak, who I think, is a really good young goalkeeper. And if you're telling me who do you want to Benfica over the next 10 years, JC or him, I mean, hands down, it's going to be him. But to say that today he's a better goalkeeper than JC, I'm not even sure about that. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Last season he only played once Artur got hurt. It wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's outplaying this guy in practice. We have to throw him in there. No, Artur got hurt. Then this year he goes to the most expensive goalkeeper in the history of La Liga. Let's not forget that.
He played well against Real.
Oh, no, forget that, Marco. Forget that. You're jumping ahead. He goes into La Liga as the most expensive goalkeeper in La Liga history, as the 4th most expensive goalkeeper in European football history. And he still doesn't beat out the other guy. He only played because the other guy got a red card. And then the other guy after that, he played, lost his spot once again to Asenjo, whatever the hell his name is, or not Asenjo, Toyo Moyo, I forget the guy's name. Then he loses his job. Then he gets hurt. And only then does he grab the bull by the horns.
But it's no different to how he got the opportunity at Benfica, if you think about it.
Yeah, he only got it because the guy got hurt.
I also think that JJ didn't rate him as far as somebody with experience for the back line, and JJ publicly said that. So that may be the case for Atletico Madrid too. Maybe the guy has equal skills to the guy that's there, except the other guy has leadership skills.
By the way, the other guy's name's Moya.
Has leadership skills that Black doesn't have yet as a young kid.
I don't think you go out and spend $16 million on a goalkeeper and say, you know what, he's not ready.
Well, he's locked in.
Oh,
he's locked in for the next 10 years.
Maybe. He might get hurt and another young buck takes his spot.
I don't know. All right. Well, we're gonna break here. We're gonna do Nelson's thing right now.
And now, the halftime headlines.
Nunca vi na minha vida tipo de clima que mais parece clima de guerra do que clima para jogar futebol.
This week we kick off by looking at our one and only captain, Anderson Luiz da Silva, better known to us as Luizão. He's appeared in more than 400 games for the club and has worn the captain's armband a record 329 times, logging more than 40 goals and more than 40,000 minutes in his Benfica career. From all of us Benfiquistas around the world, we greatly appreciate your dedication and love for the team. Ticket prices have officially been announced for the next away game at Gil Vicente. €30 for non-Gil socios will be the price. This leaves little time for Benfiquistas to check their car, the sofa, and their pockets to be able to afford these ticket prices that are around 10 times what they're usually used to. Looks like só pão com manteiga for lunch the rest of the week. With a good display no Clásico from both teams and finishing in a 0-0 stalemate, we thought that things were done and dusted. But perhaps the most fiery events of the evening were just beginning, as the two coaches headed to the locker room. Lopetegui allegedly claimed JJ wasn't familiar with his name in being quoted in saying, they were separated by officials and security as JJ released a fury of caralhos and claiming he wasn't sure what Lopetegui was saying because he didn't speak Spanish. I'm sure they'll get it sorted eventually. And that's all for this week.
All right.
I'll say this. That's not the first time I've seen Porto get in trouble in the tunnel. I mean, I just want to throw that out there.
They got a history in the tunnel. But I mean, Steve, go ahead, Steve.
I had a couple points I wanted to get to before we jump to a different topic. What do you guys think of Pizzi? Sorry, I forgot it earlier until now.
Come on, Steve. We're past that already. We did halftime headlines.
Yo, he's been on the podcast for a long time. He has free reigns, all right?
I have free reigns, yeah. Like
See,
when
Steve,
I messed up.
got you.
last podcast when I thought you were talking about Helton and you were talking about Talisca.
Vamos a outra cerveja aí.
No, Pizzi.
Yeah, well,
not ready, Steve. Not ready.
I don't think he's ready, man.
He was terrible this weekend.
I don't know if it was terrible.
He wasn't good.
Yeah, he wasn't good, and I think just like he's done so far for the Portuguese league because of JJ's knowledge of the league, because of JJ being who he is, he's done okay. But
you don't like to hear it.
If we want any campaign in Europe, I don't think Pizzi is good enough.
You don't like to hear it, right? You don't like to hear it. Now mention this to Alfredo in my living room. He looks good against nobodies. And you're like, oh, but that's all we play. All right, in a big game like this, I went as far as to tell Alfredo, I guarantee Benfica will upgrade at that position in the offseason.
Yeah, that's very possible. But here's the thing, right? You can't rate a guy when he had no room to play in the midfield. Nobody had
agree
room
with
to
that.
play in the midfield, man.
You know
I
how I can
agree
rate
with
him?
that,
You know how
but-
I can rate him? The one chance he had.
Cuidado com o JJ,
Steve,
pá.
the one chance he had. He lobs it at the goalie.
He's never been known for
Come on,
outside
dude.
shot.
Then you don't belong in that position. Get out of here.
I think you're being a little too harsh. I don't think he was awful. I just don't. I think, like you say, we will shop in the summer just because, especially in the way JJ sets up a team, you need somebody a little bit extraordinary in that position. And we've had that for the better part of JJ's reign with us, whether it's Witzel or Enzo or Aymar to an extent almost played that position the way JJ set up his first year. So we've always had exceptional players playing in that role. And Pizzi is a nice player. He has pretty good feet, but there was some certain times in the game where you need that coolness, that where you can kind of slow down the game in your mind and make the right decision, and Pizzi wasn't able to do that. I can think of two occasions. One where he lobbed it at the keeper, where I think Nico was probably the better option, and another one where he hammers a shot at, I believe it was Maicon, and he had a pretty easy inside ball to the left that I think was Nico again. So that's for me is the measure of an extraordinary player, a guy who, when the chips are down in a very intense match, can compose himself and choose the right option. I don't think Pizzi has that. There was a lot of talk on him not having the aggressiveness and the tackling ability that he also doesn't have. But if I found him really wanting in any situation in the match, it was more on the attacking side of the ball versus Porto than it was on the defensive side.
I didn't mind him overlooking Nico. And I'm going to tell you right now, you just said that you can't rate a player because he didn't have many opportunities. Well, not you, at least this guy to my left did. That you don't have, he didn't have much space. The one chance he had space. The one time he had space. You overlooked Nico, which I got to be honest, I would have done too. Okay? He's probably wide open looking at that. Absolutely, but you know what? In order to score goals, you got to be egoista. Okay, I don't want to hear. Let me know. Name me a forward that scores, that leads the league in goals. That's not egoista. You can't find one.
I think you just nailed the point on that, or nailed whatever the head on the point, or however you
nail. The nail on the head. The nail on the head.
There you go. Well done. Pizzi's not a forward.
But here's the thing, man. You guys, I'll let you go. Hold on a second, Marco. You guys are being too harsh on a guy who's playing out of position. That's been an adaptation, and then's been playing the position for 3 months.
He's a winger. Now you can't finish in front of a goal. You lob it at the goal. That was a pass. It's like,
no, a winger is a crosser. Is it down to the line and crosser?
Yeah,
Marco.
Tell Suarez he's a winger.
All I was gonna say is that for what he lacks in top level quality, I thought Pizzi did try to do what was required of him. And when you compare how the team set up against Sporting at the Alvalade, with Andre Almeida ultimately playing not as an 8, but pretty much as sort of like a second 6, I think that made a lot more sense in terms of how the team used Pizzi, right? Because fundamentally the team wasn't trying to sit and do this all-out defending thing like they tried to do against Sporting. So even though he wasn't necessarily effective, I think the fact that JJ tried to use him in those in sort of the normal course of the game in that usual position that he plays was a far more positive move. And even though he didn't execute as well as we've seen, to be honest, I wasn't that fussed by it. I think it was a show of faith in the kid. Whether that means that we're going to stick with him for next season, I doubt it. I agree with. Well, I hope that what Cristiano says is going to come to pass. But ultimately, I didn't think there was a bad thing, and I felt, at least the kid wasn't sitting there complaining like we've seen Filip Jurisic do, for example, to think of an immediate name of suddenly being thrown. Okay, now you go play right wing. Now you go play over there. Now you go play in all sorts of different positions. He didn't. He tried to do the job asked of him, and I think, ultimately that's the least you can ask from a pro like that.
You got to give him credit for that.
Personality-wise, Pizzi's top notch.
Well, he's a professional. That's what
Absolutely.
you ask of a professional.
Absolutely.
Steve, what was the other point? So we can move on, please.
One more. We cannot
This,
finish this podcast without mentioning the choreography before the match. That was gorgeous.
Yeah.
ridiculous. Probably the best I've seen. When
Beautiful.
Cristiano and I were watching, I almost fell off his couch.
There you go. That was it. We can move on now.
It was beautiful because I've seen a lot of choreography. I've seen the players come in the stadium and everybody throws it up. I've never seen one kind of do a transition,
No, there's
and then you throw in the cup element
There's
as
a
the
lot of
3D
nice ones.
element.
that was beautiful, but there's a lot of nice.
But I don't watch the other teams. You
But
got to remember that.
Borussia Dortmund, the tifos that Borussia Dortmund comes up with. Marco, you could attest it. I mean, that is. I mean, listen, it was beautiful, and I'm glad that I finally got to see one from Benfica. But I mean, there's plenty of the teams that do that. I mean, Barca does it every single game with the Visca Barca and whatever. I mean, they do
Every
it all the time.
Clasico is pretty big at Barca too, but
Yeah, but I think to me,
that
my
one deserved
favorite.
mentioning.
It did, Steve. It was absolutely gorgeous. As a Benfiquista, if you think that was ugly, but you should get slapped in the face. But to give people credit, what Dortmund does is if you haven't seen it, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, do what you have to do, find the clip of it because what Dortmund does is wowzers. That's Marco.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
No, they're awesome. They're probably. I mean, it's the one team that I don't necessarily actively support that I'd love to go and watch because the experience and the sentiment of those fans is amazing. But having said that, listen, make no mistake, our fans are awesome as well.
Oh, no
Benfica
doubt.
fans are a million times of a level of class far beyond anything, say, for example, in that weird, apparently amazing league up in the north of Europe somewhere.
You know what I
In
found
fact,
that was
even
cool?
part of Europe. They're like a separate island.
You know what I found that was cool? Even Luis Felipe Vieira was holding up a little cardboard thing, which was cool. But I didn't mention to Alfred, who are the two clowns to his left? They weren't holding anything. Who are those clowns?
One was the president of the league, so he's got to remain impartial, and the other one was the Fernando Sanchez, selecionador.
Yeah,
Those
first
guys
right.
got to remember
Nah.
they're not going to be part of the
Pá,
party.
tem cartaz na cadeira, tu levantas e tu faz parte da equipa. That's it.
Yeah, I also got to give a shout out to João and Manel. João and Manel were at the game.
I know. They're always at the games. I mean, I'm not
Planet
surprised by
Benfica.
that. I'm not surprised by that.
I forgot to mention that before. Thanks, Timo, for reminding me. All right.
Wait,
Steve,
make sure that Steve.
Steve, we're ready or what, dude?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't
I'm
know
sorry.
what you got the shirt today, so now all of a sudden you're breaking in, you're mentioning things out of
What was
line.
that the little right winger that Benfica had, number 7, redhead? Pembridge?
Yeah.
Mark Cambridge?
I look
Oh.
at Steve in that shirt, and that's what I think of.
Yeah, that's
Why did
about
it
that
bring
era.
him
But I always thought I looked a little bit more like Kaladu. What do you
No,
guys
I didn't say you look like him. I said I look at the shirt, and that's what I think of. That's what it brings me back to.
Gotcha.
And Steven, if I were you,
I know the Kaladu. I know the
wouldn't wanna
Kaladu
tell
link.
people I remind them of
Chris.
Kaladu.
I know the
Chris,
Kaladu.
can I make a request?
I think Sergio.
Wait, Marco's saying something.
Go ahead.
Chris,
Marco.
can I make a request? Can we never mention any players and anything from that era because that knobhead messed up both teams I support. Okay? And I'm not talking about Pembridge. I'm talking about the guy who brought him in. So
Graham
please,
Souness,
can we not talking about him?
Oh, but he was a Liverpool legend at one point too.
No, he told
He was
Deco.
a,
He told
yeah, as
Deco,
a
"You'll
player,
never play."
as a player.
He told Deco, "You'll never play in Europe." That was great. Great scouting by him.
Sergio was saying that we
Yeah,
kidnapped
exactly.
the guy from Dortmund, the guy that does the choreography for Dortmund, that we kidnapped for this game.
Kidnapped this
I
guy.
don't know about that, Sergio. I think we have plenty of talented people in our ranks.
Português em Portugal. Todos a dormir, man. Come on, he's probably right. We probably did kidnap that guy.
All right,
Portugal ninguém trabalha, meu.
Steve, tem ordem para passar à frente?
He got the thumbs up.
Bora
Por
lá.
favor, pá.
All right, let's turn our attention now to Gil Vicente, which is the game that comes up this weekend. Benfica will travel to the Cockland. Cockland, right? Is that what they call it? Cockland? Barcelos, where they're famous for their cocks. The ones that could tell you the weather if it's rain. It's
Yeah,
gonna rain.
they wake you up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have those cocks. That they're kind of like color
The one-
and based on the humidity.
You never heard
and
about
the
those
temperature.
cocks?
Oh, okay.
You've seen those.
Como é que chamam um galo francês? Como é que chamam isso? Galo
The
francês.
coq sportif.
Lisco.
Sportif.
Yeah, remember when the Coq Sportif used to be cool in the 90s? France
Yes.
wore it and whatever. A couple other teams. I think in Portugal, they tried to. Didn't the Portuguese team wear it?
It's making a comeback.
Is it?
I don't know. Maybe it is.
This
All
guy.
right, Gil Vicente. I'll give you a few stats on Gil Vicente before we move. Gil Vicente is 17th place, so that's next to last for you. Those for you keeping score at home. 4 wins, 6 ties, 20 losses is their overall record. They have the 3rd worst defense in the league. At home, 2 wins, 7 ties, and 7 losses. I believe the last 10 matches that Benfica played there, I think 6 wins, 3 ties, and 1 loss. One of the ties, I should say, coming last season. Tough game for Benfica, but here's the thing, and Nelson mentioned it in his segment. 30 euros to go watch the game for non-socios of Gil Vicente.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money for Portuguese people, man. This might not be a lot for you because you're a baller,
No.
but
I'm just
30
asking,
euros, man.
Listen, they know. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the baseball season a couple years back here in the United States of America, that when the big dogs came into town, that was called the gold package, and they charged more. And then when the shitheads came into town, they charged less. And I mean, I think Gil Vicente is aware that, you know what, Benfica, everywhere they go in Portugal, they pack the stadiums. And this is our Lotto. This is like Lotto Pay. This is the Toto Lotto this week. That's it. I don't blame them. I mean, and I bet you're still going to be sold out.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think, man?
Steve, Chris has nailed all the points. It's the end of the season. Benfica always sends a good traveling support, or maybe it's not even a traveling support. A lot of times it's locals that support Benfica that just go there. They are expecting a full house because Benfica needs the push to finish off the season and become champions. They're taking advantage. It's a regular occurrence in any other business. Supply and demand, gouging, all that kind of stuff happens in any other business. I'm not surprised by it at all. If I were in Portugal, I'd probably pay the 30 euros and make the drive up to Barcelos. It's just, sadly, it is not a nice thing to do, but it's. But it is nice.
But it is nice. You know what? They took care of their socios. Now, if you would have told me for everybody, including their socios, the ticket prices went up, then that's wrong. But you know what? They said, I'm taking care of my guys. O resto is a bunch of, Benfiquistas, Maluks. They're going to pay whatever. So they pay. Now, if they didn't take care of their own guys, then I'd be on board. I'd say, man, that's a lot of money. But besides that, listen, they're smart.
You can eat in Portugal for 30 euros a week, man.
Ipa.
No joke.
Pão e manteiga.
No, sir.
You could eat out almost.
You could get you could get a good meal at a restaurant, and I mean, I'm not talking about stuffed lobster and clams and all that crap. Like um bitoquezinho, bife a cavalo, uma coisa assim qualquer. 30, 6 euros com copozinho de vinho, 20 tintos. You got that right.
But what does that have to do with the game?
What I'm just saying, 30 euros is deep, bro.
Listen, it's Steve, supply and demand. Benfiquistas are going to go out. They're going to push Benfica. So one thing that JJ and Luis Felipe Vieira and even the players all season long have done, which is call for this fan support and tell them how much they love and how much they appreciate their support. Gil Vicente, hey, they're smart. You know what? You're going to pack my house. Pay me.
Yeah, basically, this game will pay the salaries of the players.
And so you're blaming them
perhaps
for
the past 3
months.
3 months.
And you're blaming them for that. That's smart business.
And for the next, yeah, it is. But I think that I understand.
Bro, I mean, listen, if you can't afford to eat the rest of the week, my man, you're doing something wrong. Go eat. Any of you guys that are at home listening to the podcast and you might not have any money to eat the rest of the week, take it from me. It's a little piece of advice. Don't go to the game y vai comer, okay? Easy. Now, if you have an extra $30 laying around, go to the game. But if you're not going to eat the rest of the week, you're a dumbass if you're going to go to a soccer game. Simple as that.
Yeah, but sometimes the passion for the club.
You got to be smart. Just like Jimmy Sens being smart. They're being smart. That's it.
Chris is telling it how it is, man. That's just.
É pá, mas é verdade ou não é?
Get your priorities straight.
I mean, it's easy coming from a guy who lives in the States, but the people that are in Portugal that live from paycheck to paycheck sometimes overextend themselves at the end of the month.
But that's dumb. That's dumb. Listen, I like the New York Knicks. I like the Yankees. I'm not gonna go out there and pay $2,500 a seat. What's that got to do with it? And I mean, I'm lucky not to be living paycheck to paycheck, but I don't go and pay $2,500. Now, if I go out and pay $2,500 a seat, and then I come to you, Alfredo, I'm crying. You'll be like, yo, you're gonna tell me what I'm telling you. You're a dumbass.
I understand.
Amigos, less economics, more football, please.
Well done.
Marco, what do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about this game, Marco?
Gil Vicente. Well, I mean, the travel. It was in Feb last year, I think, or this year. No, last year. Sorry. And I remember this. Cicada got sent off, like a stupid second yellow card or something. It felt a bit wasteful, and Benfica take the lead through a Lima penalty, and then there's a stupid equalizer, and then there's like a gazillion shots, and we just don't score. And it's the only blemish in what is an unbelievably good win record for Benfica. Look, I mean, Gil Vicente are down there. They've just got to be put to the sword, really, because you know, Peggy's comment on Twitter is spot on. Benfica have given themselves an opportunity, but they can't take their foot off the pedal. They've got to win these 4 games. This is not like I know Cristiano might remind me of this, but when Benfica lost to Passos early in the season, or like in Jan or Feb, whenever it was, I wasn't concerned as much because you still got time to recover. But this is April, this is May, this is the business end, and any poor result here is no different to Estoril in 2012 or 2013. I can't remember which year it was. So Benfica have to make sure that they get these points, and they have to make sure that they don't give Lopteg or Lotapeg or whatever his bloody name is any sniff, any hope of catching or doing anything remotely in the sense of catching up to Benfica in terms of this title chase. But it's very much in Benfica's hands, but they've got the tougher schedule. Make no mistake. So they have to win these 2 games, all these remaining games. And I mean, obviously, it starts with Gil Vicente.
You know what I'm wondering here is if Benfica play ahead of Porto or if Porto play ahead of Benfica, because even JJ himself admitted this year that when Benfica play, he likes to know the result that Porto already had. You know what I mean? That's something that in the back of my mind always plays, because this Benfica team is not the same team. And Marco brought up Paços Ferreira. Benfica played ahead of Porto that weekend, if you recall. And it seemed like they didn't put the foot to the pedal. And so I know it's corny to just mention this out of nowhere, but it's something I think that we should look at. I mean, I don't have the Porto schedule ahead of me, but
Porto play on Sunday.
Yeah. Porto play after Benfica.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Steve. With Gil Vicente being where they are, us coming off a very charged up result, which is leading us down to the right path. Any chance that we might not take this game as serious?
I hope not. I mean, there's warning signs on the game. One of them is that Gil Vicente, yes, they are bloody awful, but they're almost being relegated, but they're within grasp of, I believe it was Vitória de Setúbal or Roca. They're within 3 points of them. So they have their backs against the wall. They will have a lot more to fight for. And just like any other team, Benfica is always one of the games that you get up for the most. So we have to play within this reality, knowing that this is like their Super Bowl, quote, American sports, like you guys like to do way too often, Chris. But that is what it is. So we have to go to this game with all the respect in the world for the opponent, play the game the best that we possibly can, put it away, and forget about it. I mean, Jorge Jesus and Luis Felipe Vieira, after the Porto game, came out bluntly and said it. We haven't won anything yet. No euphorias whatsoever. We have to keep our heads down and work, and that's basically what it's going to be for the next. We get 3 wins, we're champions. That's what it comes down to. So that's what the mentality has to stay at. Hopefully, we've had our run-ins with Gil Vicente. We tied there, I think, 2 years in a row. I'm remembering a Cardozo saved penalty, if I remember right. Was that last year or 2 years ago? That I think we tied as well. So we gotta just stay focused and focus on the task at hand. And each game is exactly that, the task at hand.
One thing we know for sure, they're going to be playing for their lives here, and they got 4 games.
Yeah.
To stay up. And I mean, if they get a positive result here, they're only 3 points behind Oroca and Vitória Setúbal, so it's not like it's over for them just yet. So not only is it the biggest matchup of the year, not only are they going to make the most money of any matchups of the year, but this is the game. If they could get a positive result here for them, this could be huge, man. This is going to be absolutely
Just to support that, Chris, I mean, if you ever look at their schedule, right, relative to Penafiel. Now, I know Penafiel are 5 points behind, but Penafiel play Academica next. Let's assume Gil Vicente lose. It gives Gil Vicente a bit of a challenge going into the next fixture, because 2 games from now, Gil Vicente and Penafiel play against each other. So any points that the two of them pick up relative to each other at the moment makes that game a massive relegation decision game, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So they'll be up for this, because this is basically the last home game before they play Penafiel.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we got to pay attention to, and we got to approach this game with the utmost seriousness. And, I just don't want to have the same type of deal that we had a couple years ago when we won at Marítimo, and we thought that was going to be our biggest obstacle to the title race. And we beat them. Then we came home and played Estoril, and we all know how that went. And then we let everything slip. I just think that it was great. This result against Porto was great. It wasn't what we all wanted, but it was the lesser of the 2 evils. And now we got games that on paper are pretty easy. We played the last 2 place teams in the league, in Penafiel and Gil Vicente. And if we need 3 wins, these got to be at least 2. At least 2.
I mean, no exception. I mean, no excuses here. Benfica could not come away with anything but 6 points here. It's absolutely unacceptable. Anything else?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to add on the game before we wrap everything up?
Not on the game, but I think I saw a couple questions.
Lá vem este gajo outra vez.
Hold on, man. There was a couple questions.
While Steve searches for the questions, Walla is reporting that Benfica, once they do clinch the title, God willing, if they do clinch the title, that they're going to renew Julio Cesar until 2018. Yeah. So I guess they're going to add another year to his contract.
Yeah, that was on the paper early this morning.
I don't know if I didn't read the paper.
Speaking of renewals, one of the questions was about Maxi's renewal from Joãozinho. I honestly think there's some sort of we've mentioned this before, but I really think there's a gentleman's agreement. We've said this is our offer. If you can get better, go ahead and get it, but you can sign this whenever you want. I'm thinking that's what it is, and if we do re-sign Maxi, it won't be until like a last-minute type deal.
Yeah, I definitely think
that's a pity, man.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think that the offer's on the table. We also had a poll on our website last week about the right back situation, and thanks to all of you guys that voted. We have a new one, which I'll get into it shortly. But I think that with the options that Benfica has, with the fact that Almeida can play right back, with Bruno Gaspar being available, with the kid from the B being available, I'm not even talking about Cancelo, because I think that Benfica are gonna cash in on Cancelo, whether he goes to Barca, whether he goes to any other shitty team in Spain. Benfica will cash in on Cancelo Barca? If they need to. Yeah, there was something on the paper about Barca.
Yeah, George Mins is doing his work pretty early. He was linked to Manchester United as well.
Yeah, so whatever happens, I think that and it's like you're saying, they've established probably a budget for next season, as many clubs do, and they've presented an offer to Maxi. Look, this is what you got. There's also these clauses, these bonuses. If like Steve says, if he could do better, hey, go ahead. We won't take it personally. And if you want this contract,
This
is here.
has to be a gentleman's agreement because otherwise it's bad business by Benfica.
It is.
It is bad business because they could have sold them in January. $10 is $10. Maybe $10 plus 20. You got a ticket to the Juve Center game. You know what I mean? So it's bad business if they're gonna let them just walk away for free, man. It's not right.
But the point is, it's very difficult to go and find another right back of his quality at the moment. If you have a look at, I mean, come on, man, I'm sold. Again, look at that Porto game. He was all over that. He was amazing. He absolutely didn't. I mean, Alexandra maybe got 2 moments in. That's it. There was no ascendancy from that left side. He was outstanding for Benfica in that game. He really, really was.
Yeah, we all know what Moxie brings. I mean, we're no strangers. We're not contesting his value. I just think that Benfica has definitely a budget, and for a right back, it's definitely that number that's there. You know, if he wants to sign it, very well. If not, sayonara, arrivederci, as Chris likes to say. Anyway, the poll on our website is what did you think of JJ's approach to Sunday's Clásico? Your choices are too defensive, grow some balls, JJ. The second one is just right and effective, JJ for Coach of the Year. The third one is could have taken more games, more of the game's initiative, stop being afraid of Porto, or other. So go on BenficaPodcast.com and vote for what you thought of the Clásico, and we will discuss the results next week. I think that's about it. Steve, you wanted to add anything?
There's another question on Twitter that I don't even want to look at.
Guys.
If we lose the title this year, would it be worse than the 2012-2013 season? From Rob Correa.
No.
I don't think so either. I think that was just absolutely brutal. I don't think it could ever get any worse.
I
don't even want to think of it getting worse. So how's that?
You can't think of it getting worse, but I mean, I like to think that if Benfica were to drop 6 points here over the last 4 weeks, it'd be on some crazy shit that you'd probably put right up there with what happened against Porto. Considering if Benfica goes and loses to Penafiel on some BS, I mean, at least you're gonna say lose to Porto, but not Penafiel. I mean, how do you explain? I mean, so Steve, it didn't happen yet. Shit could get crazy.
Yeah, and
but
go ahead, Marco.
No. I'm remembering those 2 weeks. My life was turned upside down in those 2 weeks because that Kelvin goal. I had nightmares. I had absolutely total nightmares. And then, like after the Europa League final, I was inconsolable. You can ask my wife. Okay, I'll go wake her up now. I'll bring her on this podcast, and she'll tell you about the tears I cried. I was looking at Enzo and Gaetan and Oscar, and I was devastated for those guys, man. They didn't deserve that. That team played on a level. It was a good squad as well. This is different. This team we didn't have these expectations. You know, they're still to some extent surprising us in a way. They played really well. They played at a level above and beyond themselves. I don't disagree that dropping 6 points would be diabolical, but that team in 2012-2013, they should have come home with 4 freaking trophies. End of story. Yeah. It was devastating what happened.
Yeah, it was a monumental choke.
Yeah, but that's the overall season. I think the question was posed more for the Campeonato. I agree with you, by the way, Marco. I mean, I'm still having nightmares over that, but I'm trying to think of what the guy was trying to ask, and I think it's more to do with Benfica losing the Campeonato, not the miserable 3 weeks that we had.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that's gonna top that anytime soon. I don't think.
All of you guys that have been mispronouncing Lopetegui's name, you will get an email from him, so watch out.
In what language?
Lopetegui.
Basque?
Timo is saying that we had 2 queijos frescos, 2 bitoques, 4 sagres e 2 cafés for 30 euros at the Terceiro Anel at the Estádio da Luz.
That's crazy, bro. You and I went out for dinner. We're paying $28.
Crazy talk.
We're playing.
What do we pay? What do we pay for that lunch we had on Sunday? that I have polvo
It was like-
alla Guerrero and you had Leitão.
Oh, the other day it was like $100.
No, but that was
I had my mom, my sister. But you're looking easily between you and I that day, probably like $60.
yeah.
But that's in the States.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, but you and I in Portugal.
Yeah.
We were eating. It was like $28.
Yeah.
And
And
we
it's
just
really
had a
I
meal.
don't remember, dude.
That's
We didn't eat much.
Na Capa
Oh
Verde.
yeah, we
didn't eat much.
Barret Verde.
This guy's not maluco.
I don't even remember how much it was, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it was
But
like
it was
20.
nothing out of the ordinary.
But
that I
that's
said,
what
"Man,
I'm
this is
saying."
expensive.
But no, because to us, 27 euros is
Yeah,
cheap.
it's nothing. But that's what I'm saying. For 30 euros to go watch a game up north in a shitty stadium is expensive.
Papa, call it what you want.
That's all
I
I'm
totally understand what they're doing, and I don't blame them.
I understand what they're doing too.
Smart business.
Anyway, anything else, Mr. Santos?
No, I'm good. Oh, no.
Oh.
Let me pull one more. Since we're talking about all this fantastic food in Portugal for great prices, if you guys are ever thinking about going, don't think twice. Just do it.
Go where?
man? I mean, don't leave the
Portugal.
people hanging. Well, specify that.
If you want restaurant recommendations, you can hit me up on Twitter. I got a whole bunch.
Hey, since we're talking about food, you gonna go? Go. Perdón, pa. Estou lixado contigo.
You just had to make that up. Marco, anything else you want to go? It's always a pleasure having you, my friend. I know you had a
Thank
busy
you.
night.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 2 podcasts in a row. Crazy. Thank you for allowing me on my annual appearance. I'll be back next year. No, but it's always it's wonderful talking to you guys. Thank you.
Same here, man. Listen, I'm still waiting for the invitation to go on your podcast, where I don't let anyone else talk. But
My show is
still
cancelled.
waiting. They canceled it.
Yeah, because Liverpool didn't make Europe, dude.
So you telling me the next season I'm gonna have to start rooting for Liverpool in Europe in order to make an appearance on your show?
You gotta hit him up
No,
early.
I'm saying
I'm gonna call Graham soon as
You gotta hit him up early when Liverpool is still in Europe.
No, I'm joking. No.
All right.
Estou lixado contigo. Estou lixado contigo. So, I root for them and they're still in it. The chances get better. Get it?
I don't even know. Will they make Europe this year?
Yeah, Europe they'll make.
no.
Not
I
Champions. No, what do you mean you
doubt
doubt it? No, I'm not talking about Champions League. They're not making Champions League, but Europe.
No. They've got to finish above 7th. Tottenham. Anyway, let's not turn this into a Liverpool podcast. Separate conversation.
All right, everybody check the EPL and make out your own conclusions, whatever.
Wait. Oh, I'm kidding.
If you have to go, go. Steve, if you have to go, go. Marco, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate you coming on. And hopefully we could, maybe you should turn this into a bi-yearly appearance, not a yearly appearance.
I mean, bro, what you got? Marco got me all confused.
They're in 5th.
I know Marco has me all confused. I'm like, am I missing something here? I'm like,
They're playing Chelsea on the weekend. Think about this.
Chelsea's wrapped it up, man. Chelsea's on vacation.
All right.
Chelsea are winning the title on the weekend.
Exactly. They're on vacation.
Now that you're talking about that other blue team that I hate.
Oh, by the way, that blue team. Wait, how come you always ask Steve what he got? What about me? I want to add something.
You always added something.
Oh, that's right. Porto, Paris Saint-Germain, Fiorentina, and Chelsea. They're all coming to Red Bull Arena here in the New York tri-state area. So hopefully a lot of you guys that are listening, if you intend on coming out here, please reach out to Alfredo and I, and it'd be a pleasure to do a little pregame of what exactly it is we're going to do out there Style to Lose in 2017. So please feel free to reach out to us, and hopefully Steve will come down here and watch Chelsea play, and we'll have a blast in July. So
That's right.
that was it.
At 10CO10, at Steve Santos 6, at Benfica Podcast, at I always get this wrong.
Footy_Marco L.
Yeah.
Well
You
done.
gotta shorten that, Marco. You gotta shorten that too, bro.
People know me. I can't shorten that now.
They're still gonna know you're Marco. Your name's not gonna change, bro. It's your
What am I gonna change it to?
I
tag.
was gonna know Marco_40L.
That underscore. That's too long. I can't add you in conversations a lot of times. With Benfica podcast, it's like 15 letters.
Yeah.
And
Don't-
Steve Santos 06.
Don't forget to check out our friends over at planetbenfica.co.uk, benficapodcast.com. And that's about it. We're also on Facebook if you happen to like Facebook and all that good stuff. And we'll be back next week.
Oh, and if you like the Red Bulls, make sure you follow Alfredo's Twitter account. What's it on Alfredo Fumasa?
Talking to the doll.
Flapo Boneco.
Talking to the doll with the DBDA.
The guy, if you've ever gone to a game and sat with the media or anywhere near the media, this guy is the most focused and concentrated media member anywhere in the planet Earth. The guy writes phenomenal articles. So if you happen to be to the MLS, check this guy out. I mean, you shout everybody else. Shout yourself out. What is it again?
I feature some articles for Prost America.
Oh, let's not brag here now. I mean, come on.
.com. See you guys. See everybody. We'll be back next week. Thanks a lot for checking us out. Don't forget to subscribe via iTunes and all that other good shit. Peace.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.
Woo.